Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good dump.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family. I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
All right, so now we're going to head into one of our spoiler reviews this week, which is Judas and the Black Messiah. Like we said earlier, directed and written by Shaka King, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, Jesse Plemons, Dominique Fishback. Ernesto, what were your thoughts on the film?
I love this movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was very well done. I mean, Danielle Kaluuya, I fucked his name up too. And Lakeith Stanfield and Jesse Plemons, and of course Dominique Fishback, who we saw in Project Power earlier last year. All-star performances, all the way around. But just off rip, I thought the character performances was really well. I mean, some scenes that really stick out to me is when he's trying to hotwire the car.
Yes.
Bill O'Neill's character, and she's got the gun on him, and he has to like come up with those things like off the top of his head to try to stay alive. That I thought they did a really great job of building tension in that scene, and the end, the assassination and the whole end recap I thought was beautifully done. I thought they handled it very well. Like, it was just so intense. Like, everything building, like the last 20-30 minutes are just like, you're like I feel like you're glued to the screen. From Lakeith Stanfield's character Bill O'Neill getting the vial to bring to the party, and then the way he's acting at the party. And I like that they didn't show you how he died. They just showed you obviously they showed you how he died, but what I mean is like they didn't show you like him, like the whole act of him trying to poison him and what the logistics were. Right. Like he's just like, do you need a drink? And then they just cuts to him leaving outside. Like it doesn't matter how he did it. It's just the fact that the important thing is that it happened. And then the whole shootout scene afterwards, and how it's like a close up of Dominique Fishback, but in the background you hear the police officers, and you kind of see and hear the gunshots. What's funny is that like that, I guess those lines, that's from what happened. Wow. I read that. I pulled up Smithsonian. They do a really good job of like when these films come out of trying to, hey, you want to know the real story? This is like a fact versus fiction, or kind of like a deeper understanding into the story of what you just watched. So they kind of go into like a whole detail, is it based on a true story? And they kind of go over what was true about it, who the central figures were. Obviously, it's about Fred Hampton and Bill O'Neill and the months leading up to Fred Hampton's assassination. Understanding why the FBI targeted Hampton. It's a really good article. It's full of pictures. It just kind of recaps and lenses into what actually happened. And I really enjoyed how they kind of in the beginning, you see Lakeith Stanfield dressed as Bill O'Neill as he was during his final interview before he committed suicide. Yeah. And at the end, they change it on you, and then you actually see him. You hear his actual last words that were caught on camera before he dies.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything you just said, 100%. It was a great movie. I feel like there wasn't a slow moment in there. Correct. I agree with you 100%. They built tension very well. You mentioned the hot wire scene. That's a great example. Another one that I have was that the scene where Fred Hampton, he gives his first speech outside. Like he gives his first speech after his first speech after he got out of prison. And like, there was a lot that whole scene had a lot to say. Like you had, he walked in, the crowd cheering for him, and Daniel Kaluuya's performance was incredible, specifically in that scene. He like revved up the crowd, and then it cuts to like his girlfriend who's like crying because like, okay, this is my man back in action. This is where he belongs. This is what made me fall in love with him. This is like, you can feel she's emotionally involved with it. On the other side of the coin, you have Lakeith Stanfield doing what he does, doing his job, and then you see Jesse Plemons' character, the FBI agent, looking at him like it's kind of ridiculous. It's like he's like, I see what you're doing. I don't know where you land in this. Are you working for me or are you working for the Black Panther Party? Where are you? And I felt like that whole scene had a lot, just had a lot there, that caused a lot of tension that being built, like rising tension based on the actions of Fred Hampton, and added tension from the FBI agent. So I think that was a fantastic scene. And I do also agree with you, the ending. The ending was very, very powerful.
Yeah. Like, I was just like floored. And then, after the killing, and then you just really I have to appreciate when they take the time to put actual footage and like really making sure that you understand the whole story, and they kind of make you understand like why are we telling you this story. And it's like I just really appreciated like the way they wrapped up the story in the end, which ultimately I feel like is the most important. Like, because we'll say it a lot of times, the journey was great, but then the ending like killed the movie.
Yeah. And I feel like the ending really saved the movie. Like, the fact that you what happened based off because this is true events, but you don't know exactly what happened. You don't want to see it unfold. There was also a moment in there where I felt like, I kind of mentioned this before when we were watching One Night in Miami, and they mentioned a scene that we saw in Selma. And I feel like in this movie, did you see Bobby Seale?
Yeah.
They mentioned Bobby Seale, and I was like, oh shit, that was in this. Like I saw that play out, the trial of the Chicago 7. Like movies are making me connect history together, and it's crazy. And the fact that they're referencing it for a time that we weren't alive in, or I wasn't alive in, or you either.
I wasn't alive.
Yeah.
My bad, old.
And then like movies are able to kind of put pieces together and give you a story that way. And so I was like, oh, I know exactly what he's referring to. And then I instantly thought back on the trial of Chicago 7, and the character Fred Hampton was in it. He was the one that was giving counsel to Bobby Seale, which right. in the same movie, he got assassinated. And then, so like, it almost like he cameoed in that movie to get his full story in this one. It was like really cool to connect those dots after a lot of these movies we've been seeing, and how all of these movies are all nominated for these awards in the same year.
It is crazy to think about, like, you think about all the craziness has happened, all the crazy
Absolutely.
events that happened in each of these films that obviously happened in real life. And then you take a step back and realize, oh, all this was happening at the exact same time.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good way. Yeah, absolutely. I thought that the music was wild in this movie. They had like this crazy jazz that was all throughout it, and it was like this loud, like I feel like the music didn't really make any sense for the scene, but it just it created like a sense of uneasiness. But that was Lakeith Stanfield. He was uneasy the entire time, and all he was doing was to save his ass so he wouldn't go to jail for what? For pretending to be an FBI agent.
Yeah, for what, 5-6 years?
Exactly. And like you're doing, like I felt like you're probably better off just doing the time and save yourself some headache than you are going through this entire process to get yourself out of jail. It almost felt like you were in a different prison.
Well, I mean, it kind of feels like he paid for it in the end.
He did.
By taking his own life. Probably couldn't. It just the way they portray that information, they just made it seem like, well, obviously he could not live with his actions.
Well, and go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that they like the weight of what he did and his involvement in his assassination, like obviously weighed on his conscience more than it was worth being alive for.
Yeah, and they even mentioned it in the small clip of the documentary that they featured at the end of the movie was like that, what do you tell your kids? I'm like, did you really just ask him that? Like that's a hard-hitting question. Like do your kids know what you've done? Like here. And you heard his response, and then I was shocked. I think I gasped when I read that after this interview, the night it aired on TV, he committed suicide. I was like, oh shit. I didn't see, like, honestly, I didn't see that coming.
I guess he hadn't seen it for what it was. Like, if you take it back and have somebody show you a highlight reel of everything that happened clipped together and how you were involved in that, as opposed to being disconnected from the whole plot, as opposed to, just seeing your involvement in what little bit you had to do.
Yeah.
And seeing what you did and what it cost.
And obviously, ultimately it was a heavy weight on his shoulders throughout all of his years. I'm sure he did not forget the events that transpired. And, and you're absolutely right. It's like, here's all the things that I did, and at what cost was it worth it all? And it's ultimately just a very sad story all around, everyone involved. And I never felt that Lakeith Stanfield was the villain in this. Beale O'Neill, I never took him as the villain. I felt like that.
You almost felt bad for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like in some cases, I guess the FBI, the police were the villain in the story.
Yeah.
Because they were one that were, kind of egging on the whole situation. But it's just sad that, you're trying to put together either a movement or you're just trying to save your own ass, and everything just kind of falls apart when, when a small parts of it crumble. It's to me, I just felt as a sad story that was elevated by amazing performances from everybody. Like Jesse Plemons, right? The FBI. Jesse Plemons was incredible. I know I first really saw him in Breaking Bad, his small role in that. And since then I was like, this guy, like we saw him in I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah, and he was, as weird as that movie was, he was great in it.
Yeah, he was great in it. I'm surprised he doesn't get more attention as far as awards are concerned. I looked up his accolades, and there isn't much there. And I'm like, eventually there will be. Like,
there has to be. He's
so
good.
To be. Such an amazing actor. Like, he played his role so well. He's like, I'm going to be nice when I need to be nice. And like, he was never mean or ruthless. He was just like, here's information.
But like, you got his entire character intentions in that one scene that he has with J. Edgar Hoover.
Yes.
When he's asking, it's like, what if your daughter comes home with a Negro? And the fact that he wouldn't answer, or the fact, just the way that he answered, you're like, oh, he reminds me of the guy who, when we watch One Night in Miami, when Jim Brown is talking to that guy, the guy who's like really respects him as a football player.
Yeah.
It's that same sentiment. It's like, oh, you can be nice to black people, but like if they get involved in any part of your life, then you want nothing to do with it.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to use you to my advantage, basically.
Correct.
And once you no longer has a use, then, I don't want to be anything near you.
Correct.
And that's exactly what he did, and basically strongholded Bill O'Neill just so he can not sacrifice a little bit of time in jail, in my opinion. I mean, 5 years is compared to not that much. As far as a story standpoint, how long was Fred Hampton in jail for? Because I thought it was long, but it didn't feel long because like she wasn't pregnant when she went in, and then she didn't give birth when he came out. So
it must have only been a few months.
I thought it was years past, but I guess it was just a few months. I was a little bit confused on that timeline, but overall, also, did you watch the Black Klansman?
I did.
With Spike Lee?
Yes, I did.
It felt like that a little bit. I got those vibes. Like, obviously, it was obviously there was different, but it involved the police and a different story, but it was like the same undercover mission that was involved.
I see what
And
you're
that's the parallel that I'm getting at. Like I got those
infiltrating
vibes in
the
it.
organization.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all in all, it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. The thing that shocks me the most is that this movie is not being considered in the top prize. Like it's not being recognized in a lot of these award shows as best motion picture.
Yeah, as far as Golden Globes, it's just Daniel Kaluuya just for best performance in a supporting role.
Right.
Role, really. Not even. So that means are they considering Lakeith Stanfield as the main lead in this film?
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. And just for best original song, which just I thought the music
Songs were good.
They were great. They were great.
Yeah, and so like I'm just surprised. Like I feel like this movie has a lot more than definitely Daniel Kaluuya's performance was downright incredible. And I feel like this year's, I mean, if you look at the list, Ernesto, for best supporting actor in a drama, that's a hard decision to make. Because like we were just last week, we were raving about Jared Leto's performance in that movie, Sacha Baron Cohen, The Little Things, Sacha Baron Cohen and his performance in The Trial of the Chicago 7, Leslie Odom Jr. and his performance in One Night in Miami. So it's like that's a tight race that I don't want to get into now, but
that's an interesting conversation. That's for next week.
That's for next week. Yes, exactly. But like they have a lot of potential in that category, and so, but like other than that, like this movie should be there more. So I'm hoping, like Oscars like to throw curveballs every now and then. So I'm hoping that this is like. This is like Oscar's gonna shine some light on this movie because I feel like it deserves it because like I enjoyed watching this movie than I did some of the other ones that have been nominated so far.
I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Mank.
Yeah.
But isn't Mank? But see, there you go. Isn't Mank nominated for Best Picture?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck? I don't think. Yeah. If you compare these two films, I would not even give 2 seconds at looking at Mank. If you say, hey, which one's better? Mank or Judas and the Black Messiah, without even like leaving the second breath, like it would be this film, like hands down. Like I mean, Matt, where are you? If you had to compare these two films for Best Picture,
oh no, Judas and the Black Messiah for sure. There's just a lot more that was going on in this movie, and they had a lot more to say, and I think that's. But also, it's with Mank, it's a movie about Hollywood. That's a sucker for awards. Unfortunately,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like that same vein.
Same vein again.
Yeah.
It's like I get it, but like I didn't like it. But I get I get why you're nominated, but also I didn't like you.
See, but it shouldn't. But you know what? It shouldn't be like that. Just because you took the time to make a movie about Hollywood doesn't fucking make it good.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it wasn't good. It just wasn't my movie.
No, it was not good.
Yeah. I know you.
I've had time to sit and think about it. I did not like that movie.
I know. I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't like. I feel like I was whatever under like is. Like I think I have a rhetoric. Hold on. I have this written down just in case. Oh, I do. Here it is. According to my list, it was just okay.
Okay.
So that it's right in the middle, but it could be right under it where I say it wasn't bad. So whatever the middle is, that's where I am with May.
That's where it is on the bar. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is on the bar.
That's fair.
It's on the lower end of the bar, but it's not like it's like right under the middle end of that bar. That's kind of where I felt with Mankins, but also maybe it might be under that because I wouldn't watch it again. So I don't know. I don't know.
Needless to say, Judas and the Black Messiah was an incredible film.
Yes.
All-star performances. I highly recommend that anybody, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it, you need to just hit pause and go watch that movie. It was great.
Yes, and
I would watch this movie again.
Yeah, and that's the point I was making. Like, even with One Night in Miami, I don't see a reason to go back and revisit One Night in Miami. Right. But I can go back and rewatch Judas and the Black Messiah. So if that puts anything in perspective for you after listening to all of our reviews, that's kind of where it stands with me. Also, but yes, as Ernesto was pointing out, go watch this movie. It's available on HBO Max until March 13th. I'm sorry, March 12th. So you have, a little under a month to go check it out before it leaves the streaming service. Or if you're able, go watch in the theater, because I think it'll be good in the big screen as well.
I actually think it would be better. It would have been better to watch that in the theater, like in Dolby. That would have been nice to watch.
Dolby.
With the music and I don't know, it would have been good.
Especially like that crazy out there music is wild. Like it's gonna be like, da-da! I'm like, oh, let's go.
Hey.
All right, here we go. So there you go. There's our spoiler review on Judas and the Black Messiah. Hey, thanks for listening to this edited version of our weekly podcast, Box Office Bingers. If you want to hear the full version of all of our episodes, which includes us discussing entertainment news, movie and TV reviews, guest interviews, and other things we've been watching, you can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts.
And if you want more from us, be sure to hit that subscribe button and find us on our social media channels on Instagram at boxoffice_bingers, Facebook at boxofficebingers, email at boxofficebingers@gmail.com, and Matt, we're even on the Tiki-Takis. We're on the Tiki-Takis at Box Office Bingers. Once again, thanks for listening.